My headphones. I don't even know. Let's try something here. Let me see if there's feedback.
When this thing goes to court and trial, I have one shot and one opportunity to be not guilty, or I go to prison and death row.
Mm-hmm. That's the reality of it.
We have busted alibis. We have caught people in lies.
This is just insane because everybody's pointing the finger at somebody else.
You just don't hear every day walking in somebody's house, they're going to take the plastic out and pop somebody.
So he could get the execution date pretty much any day?
Yeah.
Hello, guys. How is everybody? So there is this case. This mother is posting in a bunch of groups that I'm in and all over Facebook about her son. And her son's name is Ivan Cantu, Cantu. He was arrested for the murders of his cousin, James Mosqueda, and Amy Kitchen, which was James's fiance. This was 20 years ago, but he is now on death row. So there are some podcasts, and I figured why not listen to them and see what's going on here, because she's literally posted it everywhere. So I've gone to her Facebook page, and her post says, "Help me save my son. He's on Texas death row for a crime he did not commit. He was convicted of murdering his cousin and his cousin's fiance in Dallas in the year 2000. This podcast is presenting evidence of his innocence. Please listen and help me spread the word and save my son." So the podcast is on something called Buzzsprout, and the title is Cousins by Blood. I'm going to link it too if people want to listen to it before we can get through all of them, but I'm just going to try and play maybe one a day or something. I'm not really sure. Hey, you guys. Hope everybody is good. I can only get the laptop to work. My computer's not working. We have somebody coming tomorrow, but it's a whole situation, y'all. My Wi-Fi is dead. It's given up. It hates me. But it is working on here. So I'm going to pull up really quickly some of the coverage that has gone on about this guy here. I think I can share this screen too, but I'm not really sure. Maybe I can't. I don't know. Maybe I can't, but I will. But we're going to listen to the podcast if this is something you guys are interested in. The mother is very distressed about this whole situation. They finished my floors. They're so beautiful. As soon as I charge my phone up, this phone, my other phone, I tried to go live this morning on, and that does not work. But the floors are spectacular. We need a few finishing things on them. Jason's birthday was good. He ordered a fruit tart. That's really all he wanted. The kid is strange. Alex and Scott are out buying rifles right now. It's totally not what I sent them to do, but that's what they're doing. No, the Wi-Fi is very broken. Okay? Very broken. So this is a case that the only reason I was like, this could be interesting is because the mother is posting everywhere. I mean, this lady is like everywhere. Okay? She keeps posting the same thing. Please help me save my son. He's on Texas death row. He did not commit this crime. He was convicted of murdering his cousin and his cousin's fiance in the year 2000. Please listen to these podcasts and help me save my son. So I figured, well, least we could do is listen to it, right? I mean, why not? I mean, that's really all that this lady lists on her page. Please help me save my son. Please help me save my 20 years. It's a long time. And he was convicted and he's on death row. So it's like, this is him. That's him right there. So, murder. It's very broken, honey. It's super broken. So I'm going to mute me and try and play this podcast, but I need you guys to let me know if it's crazy or not, okay? It might be.
He grabbed his drugs, and Ivan said, "Will you marry me?" and gave me a ring. And I said yes.
When this thing goes to court and trial, I have one shot and one opportunity to be not guilty, or I go to prison and death row.
Mm-hmm. That's the reality of it.
We have busted alibis. We have caught people in lies.
This is just insane because everybody's pointing the finger at somebody else.
You just don't hear every day walking into somebody's house, they're going to take the plastic out and pop somebody.
So he could get the execution date pretty much any day?
Yeah. There's no impediment.
This is Cousins by Blood. Episode 1, If the Genes Don't Fit. My name is Matt Duff. I'm a TV producer turned private investigator. This was my first interview with Sylvia Cantu. Sylvia is the aunt of the man that was murdered, James Mosqueda. At the time, the deceased James was 27, and Sylvia was in her late 40s. Now in her late 60s, Sylvia has relived the events surrounding the murders for the past 20 years, as you'll soon understand why. Sylvia starts the story on Friday, November 3rd, 2000.
Friday night, I had just gotten off work, but earlier that day, I was working for a builder, and we had just finished closing on the last house, and James was my loan officer.
Sylvia and James were working together on phase 1 of a large subdivision in Dallas. Sylvia was the realtor, and James was the loan officer. This was the biggest project either had ever worked on.
That Friday, James had closed the last loan. He calls me and he says, "Well, Sylvia," he says, he wanted to let me know that everything went well and everything was closed. And I said, "James, you did a wonderful job. When phase 2 starts coming about, we'll certainly call you in and continue using you and maybe bringing somebody else in because it was a larger subdivision."
The next day, Saturday, Sylvia gets a call from Ray Sanchez, James' right-hand man at his mortgage business.
And so Ray calls you at 5:15, and what does he say?
He says, I can't make out what he's saying, but I know he's either crying or he's yelling. I can't make out what he's saying. He was hysterical. And he says, "Sylvia, I just found out that James is dead." And I said, "What?" He says, "Yeah." He says, "I've got the baby. I can't go over to his house. Will you please go over there and call me and let me know what's going on, if this is true?" I said, "There must be some mistake, Ray." And I just couldn't imagine what he was saying. I couldn't even fathom it. So I really didn't believe it. I just knew, that was going to have to be wrong. I got to his neighborhood and I turned the corner and I see all these police cars out there. And my heart just sank. And I drove up, and without even thinking, I pulled up into the driveway. I got out of the car and I was walking towards the front door, and a policeman stopped me and says, "I'm sorry, you can't come in right now." I said, "What happened?" And he says, "The couple in there is dead."
The couple was James and his fiancée, Amy Kitchen. James was 27 and Amy was 22, a nursing student. They had just bought this home together. They were a great-looking couple. Amy was beautiful. They had gotten engaged in the Bahamas, and 3 months later, they were shot in cold blood.
Before I got in the car, I started walking on the sidewalk in front of the house, and I thought, well, maybe I could find someone there that I recognized. And Amy Kitchen's mother walked up to me, and she put her arms around me and hugged me. And I said, I'm so sorry. And she goes, and she couldn't even speak. I just know she hugged me. And I looked in the middle of the street, and there's Chris Head. And I thought, well, what is he doing here? And how does he know about this? And I blinked, and as soon as I opened my eyes again, he was gone. I mean, like a flash.
So Chris Head was there. Where was he?
In the middle of the street in front of the house. There's a crowd out there. There was people coming in. The news department had already arrived or just arriving. They were setting up. They were waiting for the coroner to pull up. It was just crazy.
And so who else was in that crowd that you recognized?
No one, just his immediate neighbors.
Just the immediate neighbors and Chris Head.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Chris Head, also 27 at the time, was a high school friend of James. An anonymous tip to police will reveal Chris and James had a, quote, huge blowout, unquote, just weeks before the murders. But we'll get back to that.
Or I went back and sat in the car. Detective Wynn knocks on my passenger window. He says, we're doing an investigation here. We found 2 bodies. And I said, that must be my nephew and his fiancée.
Mm-hmm.
So I gave him James's name, and I think I gave him Amy's name and last name, but I didn't know, anything about what had caused someone to come over there and murder them. And I think they brought James out first, and he was covered he was on a gurney. He was covered with a blanket. My sister-in-law, Elaine, shows up, Abner's younger sister, my ex-husband's younger sister. She comes over to me and she says, do you know anything? I said, I don't know anything. I have no idea what happened. She says, where's Ivan? And I said, oh my God. I said, I forgot about Ivan.
Ivan is Sylvia's son, James' first cousin. And 4 days later, after this night, Ivan will be arrested for the murders of James and Amy. This is Cousins by Blood. Cousins by Blood is a serial-style investigation podcast, unfolding episode by episode. I'm going to assume everyone listening to this podcast has listened to Serial, so it'll be easy to frame this case around it. It's got its similarities. In Serial, the murders happened in 1999. In this case, the murders happened in 2000. And like Serial, the guy convicted of the murders is in prison and says he's innocent. But in this case, this guy is on death row, and his execution day is coming. Cousins by Blood, this podcast, this case, is like Serial on speed, literally. Because that's what Ivan Cantu, our Adnan Syed, was on the night of the murders. And actually, the official story is that he was on speed, ecstasy, coke, and mushrooms the night of the murders. I'm telling you, this story is a friggin' banger. I came across a compelling blog about this case a few years ago. I was a TV producer looking for death row stories for a new show. Nothing happened with that show, but this case always stuck with me. This story has quite a cast of characters. The man convicted, Ivan Cantu, good-looking Latino dude, he was 27 at the time. His girlfriend, Amy Betcher, she was a skinny blonde with a big smile, and she was 23 at the time. Ivan's mom is tied up in the middle of this story, and so is Amy's stepdad. And some of the more interesting supporting cast include Lips, Metal, and Smiley. This case has it all. It has family. Ivan was convicted of killing his cousin, both 27 years old, living in Dallas, about a mile apart from each other. And their large Hispanic family will forever be divided. This case also has a mysterious robbery of 3 items: an engagement ring, a Corvette, and a Rolex. Mysterious because you'll never believe where these things wind up. And this case has a love story. It's twisted, but stay with me here. So the official story is that this Friday night, Ivan murders his cousin and his cousin's fiance. Later that night, Ivan proposes to his live-in girlfriend, Amy Betcher, and she says yes. Then, the next day, they drive from Dallas to Arkansas. That's where Amy's parents live. And she wants to introduce them to her new fiance, Ivan, for the first time. They spend a long weekend with her folks, they do some four-wheeling, some horseback riding, and 3 days later, they drive back to Dallas, and Ivan is arrested for the murders of his cousin James and James' fiance. So then, Amy goes back to Arkansas and tells her parents that Ivan, her new fiance, the guy they just hung out with for 3 days, is a cold-blooded murderer. And the ring she was wearing actually belonged to the cousin's dead fiance. Sounds like a movie, right? Well, it will be, but let's focus on this podcast first. I'll be straight up with you. This case is complex. A lot of moving pieces, a lot of other suspects, and almost every piece of evidence can be argued both ways, making Ivan look guilty or making Ivan look innocent. And the crux of this case takes place over 6 days, so there's a lot to go over, which makes this case perfect for this podcast format to be laid out over hours, peeled apart, and debated. Ivan most definitely was wrongfully convicted, meaning he never got a fair day in court. His public defenders did not have the time or the resources or even try to put up much of a defense. And we'll get into that, but as you'll see, that's not really up for debate. What is up for debate is, did Ivan do it? Did Ivan really kill his cousin? Or will an innocent man be put to death? The stakes don't get any higher. So let's get into it. This is Susan Eichenberg, a Dallas police officer. She was one of the first on the scene.
My partner and I responded for a call. It's called a welfare check. And that happens when somebody's concerned about a family member or a friend they haven't heard from, they're not returning our calls. When my partner and I got there, and us being the first responders on the scene, the fire department was already there. The family was standing outside the house. We, being myself and my partner, walked into the bedroom. The first thing I saw was who I found out later to be Amy Kitchen. She was on her stomach. It looked like she had been in some kind of struggle. And the reason that I say that is she was not on the bed. It was almost like she was trying to run somewhere. And she just, from what I found out later, she was just shot up. I believe it was 4 or 5 times. I looked onto the bed and saw who I later found out to be James Mosqueda, the homeowner. James was deceased, and I later found out he had 2 bullet holes to his head. He was also in a position to where they may have been asleep, they meeting himself and Amy in the bed prior to the offense. He was wearing a t-shirt and boxer shorts. There was blood splatter on the wall. There was blood seeping into the mattress. There was blood on the floor. The crime scene was brutal. It appeared to be more of a hit than a robbery or a burglary. And from my experience, the reason I say that is because no drawers were turned open or even open. I mean, the house was very tidy. There was no evidence of any assailant looking for jewelry, anything valuable. The hit was calculated, and the crime scene was bloody.
So what happened to cause a scene like that? Well, Amy Betcher, Ivan's girlfriend/fiance, testified that Ivan did it. She says Ivan went over there to see James at about 11:30 p.m. He came home with bloody clothes, and later he took her back to the crime scene, and she saw the bodies. While Ivan admitted he did go to see James at 11:30, he said when he left, they were still alive, and there are multiple pieces of evidence that suggest he may be telling the truth. And we will get into that.
So his girlfriend testified that he did it? Okay. So that's crazy. Let's find out about that.
And quick side note, this is how you know this isn't a movie script, because you have two Amy's as main characters. So just to clarify, Ivan's girlfriend at the time is Amy Betcher. The victims were James and his fiancée, Amy Kitchen. And a little more backstory on Ivan's Amy Betcher. She was from Minnesota and had just moved to Dallas in 2000. She was working as a leasing agent at an apartment complex, but also doing a little dancing at a strip club called Baby Dolls. And apparently, she was a real party girl. She met Ivan in August of 2000 at a hot nightclub called Seven. She started crashing with him almost immediately. Ivan had a bedroom at a buddy's apartment, and because of the partying lifestyle, that didn't last too long. Then, Ivan and Amy crashed at Ivan's mom's house, and that didn't last too long either. So Ivan and Amy got a pretty nice one-bedroom apartment together on October 15th, 2000. That was less than 2 months after they met, and about 2 weeks before the murders. So let's jump right in and hear Amy's side of the story, which will become the state's official story. This is a written statement given by Amy Betcher 6 days after the murders. This story begins on November 2nd in 2000, 2 days before the bodies were found. It's being read by an actress. This has been slightly edited for clarity.
This statement is given under my own free will. I understand that I'm not implicated or a suspect at this time. Thursday, November 2nd, I was arguing with Ivan Cantu, my live-in fiancé, at my residence in Dallas, Texas. He got up from the couch, went to the bedroom, and got a gun and fired a shot next to my head. My ears started ringing. I dropped to the floor. Then he put the gun to my head and stated to calm down. I tried to leave the residence, and Ivan slammed my hand in the door. Then Ivan hit me across the face. We talked, and he said that he's not full of shit. If anyone fucks him over, they'll be hurt. I got out of the apartment and sat on the sidewalk. He came looking for me, saying he thought I went to the neighbor's apartment. I stated I just needed air. I was afraid for my life the rest of the night. He went to sleep. I tried to stay awake because I didn't know what was going to happen to me. Friday, November 3rd, Ivan got up and left for most of the day. Ivan came home in the evening after his part-time job. Ivan went to the grocery store. After he got back, he made a phone call to James saying he needed to talk to him. This was about 11:30 p.m. Ivan stated, "Now I have to go kill James and Amy." Ivan left our apartment.
So this is the time period Amy says Ivan committed the murders. Now we're getting to the nitty-gritty. Pay attention.
He returned home at 12:18 a.m. by our clock. Ivan had blood on his jeans, his socks, on his gun. The gun was jammed. He stated, "This is my favorite gun." He also had doctor gloves on. Ivan was wearing James' shoes and shirt. He told me to go park James' car right, so I did. Ivan had blood in his hair, so he showered. Ivan had James' wallet and Amy's ID. He said he had to keep them, and 3 sets of keys of James and Amy's. He put them somewhere. Ivan ate some mushrooms, the drug type. Ivan said, "Let's go kick it at 7. It's a nightclub." He said he had to go there. So we left the apartment, went to Smiley's house. After Smiley's house, Ivan said, "We're going back to James and Amy's house." I said I didn't want to go. He stated that I'm going, so I know he's not full of shit. We got to the house. Ivan unlocked the door and said, "Come in." I said no. Ivan said, "Get in here," so I did. He said, "Help him look for 2 kilos of cocaine." I said, "No, let's go, please." He said, "You need to calm down." I stated, "Please don't yell at me." Ivan said, "I better help him now," so I did, because I didn't know if he would kill me too. Ivan said, "Come and look at this." I said, "No." He said, "Come on." I did not see close up, but I kind of seen. I almost threw up. Ivan said, "This is to let you know I'm not full of shit." Ivan got his cell phone out of the bedroom and his boots by the kitchen of James and Amy's house. As we were leaving, Ivan put the Mercedes in the garage and pulled the Corvette out. I was sitting in the Honda. 2 trucks drove by at this time. One was white and one was black. After Ivan got in the Corvette, we went to the apartment and dropped off the Honda. Ivan and I went to our apartment. He had a white garbage bag of Ivan's shirt and a pair of jeans. Ivan said he had to get to 7. He grabbed his drugs, and Ivan said, "Will you marry me?" and gave me a ring. And I said yes.
Let me jump in here because this is the element of the story that got me hooked on this case. In a later statement, Amy specifies, quote, "He proposed to me and gave me a ring. This is the same ring that I later found out belonged to Amy Kitchen," unquote. This will become the state's case. This is from the prosecution's opening statement. Quote, "He, Ivan, proposed to his own girlfriend, Amy Betcher, by giving her the engagement ring that had been on Amy Kitchen's finger, and then they went out," unquote. This stuck with me. It sounds almost too crazy to be true. And she said yes? Really? And for Ivan, like for every birthday and family barbecue of their married lives, Amy would be on Ivan's arm and on Amy's finger would be the ring of his murdered cousin's fiance? How exactly do you expect to get away with that? Of course, because Ivan said he didn't murder them, he has a completely different explanation for the ring she was wearing. But we'll be digging into this whole ring situation soon enough. Now, back to Amy's statement.
Ivan and I left the apartment and got in the Corvette and started heading to 7. Ivan said, "When you see a dumpster, let me know." He found one about 1 block away from 7. Ivan threw the garbage bag away. He got back in the Corvette. We then went to 7. We were there about 3:15 a.m. and left about 3:45 a.m. Went to a friend's house like 7 blocks away. We sat there for a while. After we left there, we went to Smiley's house so Ivan could give him money. After we left there, we went to Metal's house, a friend of mine in Irving. We sat there until about 10 a.m.
Nobody just sits around a guy named Metal's house until 10 a.m. What Amy's leaving out of her statement is that they were doing drugs. Metal was a speed dealer.
I said, "We have to get to my parents' house." We left there and went back to the apartment where we lived. Packed our clothes. I said, "Let's go. My parents are going to worry about us." Finally, we left about 12:30 p.m. Before we walked out the door, he stated, "Get straight into the car." The whole time we were together, he had the gun. On the way up to my parents' house, he stated, "I better act like nothing is wrong and listen to everything he says."
And this wasn't just a trip across town to visit her folks. We're talking from Dallas to Franklin, Arkansas. That's northern Arkansas. It's a good 8 hours away. Quite a road trip, given all the circumstances.
We arrived at my parents' house at 8:39 p.m. on Saturday, November 4th. We stayed at my parents' house until Tuesday, November 7th. In the meantime, he made phone calls talking about James and Amy. One call that he made just to Carlos stated, "Let's get Detective Wynn on this." Ivan told me that Detective Wynn was dirty.
Detective Wynn was the lead homicide detective on the case.
We left my parents' house on Tuesday, November 7th at 12:30 p.m. On the way to Texas, Ivan talked to people on his cell phone. One call, he stated he was going to Mexico. We got to Texas about 10:30 p.m. and went to Tawny's house.
Tawny was Ivan's ex-girlfriend, another blonde party girl who was about 10 years older than Ivan.
Ivan called Detective Wynn. He said he had a long day. We will talk tomorrow. Ivan left Tawny's and went to our apartment by himself. He came back to Tawny's and he has an inventory list that was at our apartment.
So what was also happening on November 7th as Ivan and Amy were driving back to Dallas, the police had a search warrant for their apartment. In the kitchen trash can, they found bloody jeans and bloody socks. And in Ivan's closet, they found bullets matching the crime scene and James and Amy's car keys. So when Ivan went back over to their apartment, he finds an inventory list from the Dallas Police Department with all of these items on it. That's what Amy's talking about.
He called his mom and Aunt Penny to meet us at IHOP. We sat there and had coffee and pop. Ivan talked to them for a while. After we left IHOP, we went to my friend Metal's house in Irving. After Metal's, we go to Tawny's. Ivan stopped at a dumpster and put James' wallet and Amy's ID in a Burger King bag and threw it in there. We went to Tawny's at 8 a.m. to sleep. Ivan's cell phone rang about 8:30 a.m. It was Detective Wynn. Ivan got up, got ready to go talk to him. Before Ivan left, he said that the drugs and the money were under the couch cushions. About 4 p.m. November 8th, I called Ivan's cell. His mother had it. She said she was coming to get me to talk to the detective. I called Tawny at work because I was afraid of his mother. Tawny came home. We sat there for a while. I also called my parents stating that I was afraid. Please come get me. Ivan's mother called and said that Tawny and I need to get an attorney. Then Ivan called and said that he was being charged with murder. He told Tawny to make sure I was safe. I called the airlines and got a ticket to go to Little Rock. I told Tawny not to say anything to anybody. She and I left her house. Tawny took me to TGIF Fridays before the flight and to talk and get a drink. Before I got on the plane, I told her to look around the apartment.
So that's an official statement that Amy gave. When Tawny got back after dropping Amy off at the airport, she did look around her apartment, and when she flipped over the couch cushion, she found a gun, another box of bullets, and a baggie of drugs. So Ivan is arrested on November 8th, and on November 9th, the police are called to Tawny's apartment and take the gun and the box of bullets into evidence.
Okay, raise your hand if you believe Amy is telling the truth. No. No. So what do we know so far? Ivan and Amy meet in August of 2000. She is doing some work. She's also stripping. They have some friends named Tawny, Metal, and Lips or something. They do a lot of speed and other drugs like mushrooms. They don't sleep a lot. He hits her. He put a gun to her head. And 2 days later, proposed to her. And she said yes. And allegedly, the ring that he used is his cousin's fiance's ring that he must have stolen when he murdered them. And that's what we know so far. It all sounds suspect, doesn't it? And none of this sounds right so far. Now, one part that I caught the podcast guy say, though, was she wrote this 2 days days before the bodies were found. So I'm wondering if maybe she and her friends, this is just my initial thought here now, maybe she and her little speed friends are the ones who did this, right? Possibly, I don't know. But that's what I'm thinking anyway, so let's just keep going.
However, the drugs came up missing. Tawny liked to party too. Apparently everyone in this group did. So Ivan's thumbprint will be matched to the thumbprint found on the magazine of the gun. And blood inside the barrel of the gun will be matched to James Mosqueda, Ivan's cousin. In addition, James's Corvette, the Corvette that Ivan was seen driving in that night, was located right outside Ivan's apartment on the 5th, the day after the murders. And blood from the jeans and socks will also be matched to the victims. So you're probably thinking, well, this was a waste of time. Ivan is guilty as hell. And that's what the jury thought too. But just give me a few more minutes because the jury never heard what I'm about to lay on you. You just heard the actress reading Amy Betcher's statement. She was the state's star witness. And the star witness statement and trial testimony has big problems. We'll be pulling it all apart in a later episode, but here's a little taste. In all of the statements, she consistently says Ivan came in wearing bloody jeans, bloody socks, and wearing latex gloves. And Ivan put them in the trash can. You see, a key piece of evidence is a picture of the kitchen trash can without a lid. And sitting on top of the rest of the trash are the jeans, socks, latex glove, and a blue Solo cup. Those are the 4 items you can clearly see in the trash can. Now, what you're about to hear is Amy's testimony on the stand at trial. I'll be reading the prosecution's lines, and Amy's lines are being read by the actress. What happened after Ivan took the shower?
He told me to get a bag for his pants, but I threw them in the garbage can.
You threw his jeans in the garbage can?
Yes.
Miss Betcher, you said you threw them away in the trash can?
Yes.
So in all of Amy's police statements, Ivan put the bloody jeans and socks on the trash can. But on the witness stand at trial, Amy says she put the bloody jeans and socks in the trash can. But this next part gets even more interesting. I show you State's Exhibit 62. Do you recognize that picture?
Yes.
Is that where you threw them away?
Yes.
There's also some latex gloves in that picture, is that right?
Yeah.
Had you seen those latex gloves before they went in the trash can?
No.
Who put the latex gloves in the trash can? Do you know?
No, I don't.
In all of her police statements, Ivan came home with bloody jeans and socks and wearing latex gloves. But on the stand, she had never seen the latex gloves before. Even if you give her the benefit of the doubt of who put what in the trash can, if your boyfriend comes home bloody after a murder, there would be no forgetting him wearing latex gloves. You would think that would be seared into your memory. So where did those latex gloves come from? And who really did put those bloody clothes in the trash can? Amy's story is all over the place. And this next part will prove it to you. I popped up on a key witness who talked with Ivan and Amy the night of the murders. He wishes to stay anonymous, so we'll call him DJ. And he happened to be at one of those house parties Ivan and Amy went to. I recorded this with a covert mic, so the audio quality isn't the best, but take a listen to this.
Sir, my name is Matt Duff, private investigator. Huh? I'm looking into a case where you gave a little testimony for. This is from 2000. Ivan Cantu.
Oh, wow, that's a long time ago.
It was a long time ago. But I'd love to have you just walk me through what you can recall.
That's been a while. I went through deployments too. And
Oh, really?
took out a grand jury.
Oh, wow. Well, I understand. I mean, just whatever you can recall.
I just know that he showed up at residence on Powell Manton,
Yep.
and he introduced his girlfriend. I remember the point where it showed an engagement ring.
Right.
And that's pretty much it. That's at that point in time.
Now, did they know you prior? Did Ivan, you've never seen him before?
No.
Now, what demeanor did she seem, Amy?
They both look happy. I mean, it was like nothing was going on.
Right. And that ring, how close would you say she showed you the ring?
It was like, yeah.
And she says what?
We just got engaged. Yeah.
But they didn't know you from Adam, so they were telling anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Their demeanor were at the time, happy. So spontaneous joyous, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
So
would it surprise you, from what Amy says, that she would have just saw the cousin and the dead fiance probably 30 minutes before that?
Yeah, I don't there's no way that would have gone down like that. If she was there, no. I don't think so. I don't think that would happen. This is she knew about it.
See, she says she was there.
At the scene?
She says that Ivan, so you saw them, I think you say about 2 a.m.
Man, that's harder. That would be hard selling to me, man, because to keep that composure, I don't know.
And to be that joyous?
Yes. I don't think there's no way. I mean, unless they really fucked up on some shit, you know what I'm saying?
Which she says they were on a little bit of drugs.
But still, that would, my brother's an narcotics officer, so he explains to me what happens when people are on things, and either it's going to send someone one way or send someone the other way. Either way, if it's a traumatic event like that, no, there's no way, man. There's no way you can keep up with that. Someone would break down. Something would give you a tell. There would be a tell.
Do you have them? I would love to just pour a quick affidavit.
So DJ invites me in. He's a big former military dude. He's now in his mid-40s. He tells me that he was completely sober that night, making his account that much more important. He was checking out the party house to DJ there for an upcoming birthday party.
Make sure that we had electrical where I needed, and I see how much space I was going to need for speakers and all that stuff too. So I was going there to do that, and I was leaving. I forgot through talking to him, and when I opened the door, this couple was walking up.
Yeah, in this affidavit, you say sometime after 2 a.m. Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And of course, I was seeing silhouettes because it's dark outside. And then when they walk up, and they introduce themselves, and then I remember the girl Amy being real giddy, and they're smiling, and we just got engaged, and showed me the ring.
And now, you said that their demeanor was happy, ecstatic.
Right.
Now, what if I told you that Amy's story that night, you saw them, let's say 2 or 2:30. Amy's story is that Ivan had killed his cousin, come back to the house at midnight covered in blood. He showered, he changed. He took her back to the murder scene. She saw those dead bodies. She says that she was gagging. She was shaking. Apparently, he takes off the engagement ring. This is her story. He takes off the engagement ring of the dead fiance, James's fiance there. They go back to his apartment. That's when he proposes to her with that engagement ring. She says yes. And then it must have been, with the timeline, probably less than an hour after that, maybe 30 minutes, she would have seen you. So what do you think about her demeanor and their demeanor? Do you think that could have happened?
They got to be the greatest actors ever, because usually you would be able to tell if someone was, something would have broke, to keep that up like that. I don't know. They had me fooled, that if that was the case, if that just happened.
So it seems unlikely.
Oh, definitely unlikely.
See, Amy says that he killed him. Amy says that they were out partying, but she was afraid of Ivan the whole time. They were saying, why didn't you get away from him? Why
you could have done it then right there and then, if that was the case.
How so?
So I think it was like maybe 5, at least 6 people that I remember at Harlan's place. Or, I mean, I've always been a big guy. You know, if someone's hurting or somebody needs help, I'm going to step in. She could have easily did something.
To let you know that, hey.
Or help, look at me, something to give us some type of tell. There was none of that. But I saw just in those minutes that I didn't see anything, any fear, any cause for any kind of reaction, just nothing but joy in their eyes. Something's real fishy with Amy's story.
Yeah, something is real fishy with Amy's story. And over the course of this podcast series, we're going to find out why. Oh, and just one more thing. Those bloody jeans in the trash can? Here's a little tidbit Ivan's lawyers did not bring up at trial, so the jurors never heard. The jeans in evidence were a size 34-32. Ivan wore a size 30-30. Ivan was 5'7", 140 pounds, and I've spoken to about a dozen people that knew Ivan back then, and they said no way he could wear a size 34-32 without them falling off. And Ivan never wore baggy jeans. That was not his style. And Amy never said anything about a belt, and there was no belt found in the trash can. So if Ivan's lawyers had wanted to put up a fight, all they had to do was have Ivan try on the jeans. And just like OJ and the gloves, if the jeans don't fit, you must have quit. Next episode, Ivan's side of the story.
So, this is definitely very interesting. We're not going to listen to episode 2 yet. We're going to do it all together as a family. Us, me and you guys. Not my family. You know what I meant. Shut up. Yeah. So we'll probably do them. Maybe we'll do one later tonight after I've let the puppies out. I think that'll be a good idea. Or we can just do them daily for the next several days. I'm going to let the mom know that we are playing the podcast over here. Trying to give it some more exposure. We don't know if he's guilty or not, but she's the suspect. I believe that he helped her clean up the scene. See, I don't know. Maybe, I'd like to know more about him. Like, what was his life like before he met this crazy stripper girl? What was, and I don't want to call her stripper girl. She, who knows how long. That doesn't necessarily make her guilty, but what are the quality of her friends? Did she have a record? Any of that stuff. Like, that's all going to be important, but the pants are 2 sizes too big. Somebody who wears a 30 definitely ain't wearing no 34. 5'7", wearing a 34-32. I'm going to go with no on that. I did get some photos that we're going to share here. There we go. So this is him. I don't know what he looked like back then. Hold on. He lost his Supreme Court appeal, I can tell you that much. When did he lose it? So this was 2017. So I'm going to stop sharing this. And then I'm going to start sharing this other. Okay. So, Texas death row inmate Ivan Cantu loses his court appeal. U.S. Supreme Court declined to review an appeal. So they declined to review an appeal from a Dallas man who shot and killed his cousin in a botched 2000 robbery and is now on death row. He's now 44, and he's argued that his legal help during his 2001 trial was ineffective and didn't present any evidence that proved him innocent. He was convicted of capital murder and sentenced to death on October 16, 2001. During the trial, his former girlfriend, Amy, testified that he had told her of his plans and showed her the bodies afterwards. And his socks and pants were bloody. Tests showed the blood on his clothing belonged to his cousin, and they found his cousin's car at his house. So let's see if we can see this guy, what he looked like back then. They're saying he's pretty small, right? Clings to hope. That's really sad if this is the case. I mean, a lot of people have reached out to befriend him. I was reading stories while we were listening to this, and it doesn't look like a very big dude. That's for sure. When is his, let's see. So this is him. I guess it doesn't give you that information. Prior prison record, none. So he has no prison record and just decided, I'm going to go kill my cousin and his girlfriend. What? Yeah, I mean, that statement, even though an actress was reading it, it sounded crazy. Like, who in the hell has that many details, right? And then one part that stuck out to me, they're getting high all day the day before, the whole night. Then they go home, then they pack a bag, then they leave, then they drive 8 hours, then they get to her parents' house, and his phone rings at like 8:30, and she remembers that. I couldn't tell you what the last time my sister texted me was, and it was today. You know what I mean? And she's writing up statements that are like this long, and she's doing all these drugs. Like, it doesn't make much sense unless she has some weird photographic memory. I don't know. It doesn't really make any sense to me. So I don't know. So this guy, I mean, this is pretty damn sad. If he's innocent. If he's innocent. You know, we don't know. Texas. Why can't I say Texas today? Execution watch. Is he on here? Let me see if I can. Ivan Cantu. No, not yet. Okay. That's weird. They have a watch list. Justice for Ivan Cantu. This is a Facebook page that he has. This is him. This is his mom. Let's see if this leads us anywhere, this page. No, that's expired. So. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, no. So either we'll listen to the second one tonight or maybe tomorrow. The internet people are coming between 3 and 4, and they're hardwiring my office, hopefully, and installing something so that I can get Wi-Fi outside, because right now it's quite a situation and I'm on my laptop. So there's that. So this is episode 1, and we will do the next one soon. Have a good rest of the weekend if I don't talk to you guys, but I am so sure I will before then.